What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guys, Derek and Cody, with you as always. And guys, a lot happened today for the Indianapolis Colts, and it really all happened very, very subtly and very quickly. Some people were wondering if a move was going to be made at all today because it wouldn't have surprised me if it wasn't. Obviously, if you were watching the streams earlier today, you would have heard Cody's reaction to everything going on and Max's reaction to everything going on. But I never actually got a chance to talk about how I felt about everything that happened today for the Indianapolis Colts. And Cody's just going to be here to moderate me. Let's talk about the first thing. And that was the first move that was made early in the afternoon, which was the firing of offensive coordinator Marcus Brady. Cody, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think you and I were ever really fans of Marcus Brady being hired in the first place, were we?
I mean, it was a promotion. Remember, I believe he was a quarterbacks coach
Mhm.
for a while, so it was kind of an internal thing. So I guess I was just like whatever with it. But it's clear that Marcus Brady was a major downgrade from what Nick Sirianni was, at offensive coordinator, and it definitely seemed like Marcus Brady definitely had a tougher time motivating the team to get going, if that makes sense. Like obviously he didn't, wasn't in charge of calling the plays. That was Frank Reich's responsibility. But a lot of people were like, what does Marcus Brady do? Well, I'll tell you kind of what Marcus Brady's responsibilities and roles were. Basically, what his roles were like, making sure that he was connecting with all the other offensive coaches, making sure everything was in place. There was a game plan that they had, things like that, implementing that, making sure that, the Colts had the best players on the field at all times. And we clearly saw, especially this year and the end of last year, that wasn't happening and being performed at an adequate level, right? And it just only continued into this year, and just really, really, the team struggled offensively. We already know that. Obviously, some due to the play calling, which Frank Reich deserves some of that blame, but just the team not looking prepared, right? That's something that we said offensively all year. The team just did not look prepared. There were certain personnel decisions that just didn't make a whole lot of sense at times offensively. So Marcus Brady is the first guy to take the fall from that. I'm sure there's other people that are definitely to blame as well. But as the offensive coordinator, it falls on Marcus Brady first, to make those things happen. And he just wasn't getting the job done. And I do think it's a microcosm of a bigger issue, but I think at least for right now, and based off of some of the reports we've heard about Frank Reich being safe this season, at least, it's not. I guess it was a little bit surprising, but at the end of the day, if there was anybody, I guess Marcus Brady would be the next guy in line there to get the cut. So we'll see, man. And maybe this, honestly, now, because Frank Reich's going to take those OC responsibilities that Brady had. If the team doesn't show any signs of improvement, I think to Irsay, maybe that even further cements Frank Reich's, tenure out of Indianapolis. That's kind of my thoughts, is like, if Frank's saying it's Marcus Brady or whatever. I don't think he'd say that, but you know what I mean?
Right.
If the thing is like it's Marcus Brady and they put that on him, and then the team comes out and they still don't look good, it's like, well, no, it's not Marcus Brady. It's a whole coaching issue,
Right.
So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I thought he was a little bit of a scapegoat because the offense has had a lot more problems in certain ways, and also with play calling. It's not just execution; it's been play calling too. I think it's definitely a combination of multiple things here. But yeah, definitely the performance has taken a major toll, and the Colts continue to trot out guys like Matt Pryor out there at offensive line, and don't seem to put out the best players to win sometimes, especially on the offensive line this year. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on just the Marcus Brady thing. It definitely just seems like it was a little bit of he was kind of the fall guy, and we'll see moving forward if that means anything for, if this Colts offense, personnel changes, things of that nature. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, I thought it was really stupid, to say the least. I mean, I'm not excusing the fact that, Marcus Brady obviously was not cut out for the job. I mean, ever since he has become the OC, this offense just wasn't the same under Nick Sirianni. There's a clear difference in the talent gaps between the two coaches, and it's very, very apparent. And of course, you have people, I hear on both sides of it. Marcus Brady definitely deserved to be canned. But then again, I also understand the fact that he's the scapegoat because he's the first guy of maybe a list of many to go after the season is over. And this one just happened to be during the middle of the season. Two things that come to mind right after you do this. I mean, first off, let's just say that Jim Irsay's tweet was hilarious, to say the least. After that, yeah, guys, I wish him best with the thumbs up. Yeah, that's really funny. But anyways, like when we're talking about guys like coordinators or coaches that don't have accountability, how the hell does Chris Strouser still have a job? Like, how does that man still have a job? Right? Like, I would think we can all agree that he has been by far doing the absolute worst job of any coach on this entire team. And yet he still has a job, but Marcus Brady is the first one to get canned. I mean, I just think it shows a lack of a true understanding of what's going on. And there's people that are, coming after Jim Irsay saying that, he might be the true fault here, the true problem with this team because, he's allowing guys like Marcus Brady to get canned when there's bigger issues going on with the team than Marcus Brady. And I mean, when it comes to all of this, I mean, Frank Reich is going to now be the OC and the head coach. Well, I mean, he already does the job of both, right? Like a head coach is supposed to communicate with his OC throughout the week about scheming against defenses to figure it out, right? Well, now you're in charge of both. You don't have someone now that is going to come in and give you advice. Every single thing offensively from this year forward is all going to be on Reich. So you're right. Does the offense change? Does the scheming look better going forward, or does it look the same that we've seen all year? And if you're right, if it does turn out to be, oh, it's just the same of bad play calling, bad scheming offensively, then that gives you merit to fire Reich at the end of the year if you don't feel that he's done the job when he has no excuses of doing it all himself. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, just
It's
one more
really
thing I
weird.
want to say. It definitely seems like going back to Sirianni real fast. Sirianni was a guy that I don't get an impression that he's a yes man by any stretch. Like he's a guy that would challenge Frank Reich, and I get the impression that Marcus Brady is more of a yes man since he was an internal hire. Sirianni was a separate outside hire. If you remember, I think he was with the Chargers previously before being hired by Indianapolis. So like the Colts need that. Frank Reich needs another person that's going to push back on him and give him flack for things. Like he needs a guy like that. And the fact that I don't think Marcus Brady was that guy, and that's why the offense at times just looked absolutely horrendous. And sometimes that's why you're, snapping it on 3rd and goal. You're in the shotgun, like things like that. That like Sirianni, would have a lot of issue with. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a big reason why maybe this is happening too. So, like, personally, I don't think it's going to get any better because this team is what it is. We know what this offense is. And Frank Reich is the one calling the plays at the end of the day. And we still have questions about that. So, yeah, I mean, maybe the team looks a little bit more prepared, but I'm not holding my breath because at the end of the day, that you're right, the head coach sets the temperature for this team. And this temperature right now for this team is ice cold. It really is.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate, man. It's very unfortunate. And also now, we're going to get into the next news, I know, but you've gotten rid of one of your best receiving weapons out of the backfield now.
Yeah.
A guy who scored your only touchdown this previous week. So,
Right.
I mean, you're definitely making things harder on yourself now as the head coach.
Well, and before we even get into that news, are you surprised at the Colts' inability to trade any other weapons that we had, like, defensively or offensively? Because I
Not
heard they
really.
were trying to trade, people were asking about Colts wide receivers. People were asking about, maybe some of the corners. Uh, I mean, was surprising to me that there's a couple guys that, you know, I mean, we even talked about, what was going on with Kenny Moore right after the game. There's, I think it's kind of weird that, you traded away one weapon that was a failure by the coach to use rather than other guys who are just not playing well.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, this is continuing as the head coach and GM to dig your own grave, Derek. Like you're not taking responsibility and saying, yeah, we messed up here. We shouldn't have paid this guy this amount of money or whatever. Like you're almost admitting, like, we just didn't use this guy and we overpaid him. And for what we're using him for, we majorly overpaid him. And that's just a mistake. But like, yeah, for the guys, it's like Hines, it was never a performance issue. With the other guys, it's a performance issue. So I do wonder if it's like no team wants to take on those contracts,
Yeah.
even if it is like a 5th-round pick, like nobody wants to take on that contract. Nobody wants to pay Ryan Kelly what he's getting paid, right? Nobody wants to go and trade
Hey,
for Matt
and
Ryan,
pay Matt, like Mo Alley Cox, who's getting $8
right?
million a year.
No, nobody's going to do that. So, I mean, not really super surprised. I thought maybe since Kelly was a well-known name, he might be a guy that was potentially, or Kenny Moore. But, at the end of the day, nothing really came to fruition there. I'm sure the Colts listened to trade offers for them, but maybe didn't feel like it matched what they felt like the player was still worth. So I don't know everything. I don't know all the players that were on the market potentially for Indianapolis. But at the end of the day, it takes two sides to make a deal. And the only deal that could be reached was the Nyheim Hines deal.
I think that we can get to the point where we both know that Chris Ballard's version of knowing how much guys are worth is not a very good thing at this point.
Yeah.
You did pay Nyheim Hines $6 million a year to over $6 million a year to, have him touch the ball 4 times a game. You paid Molly Cox $8 million a year for him to not even touch the ball once over the last 3 weeks of your game plan. I think it's clear to say that Ballard's spending habits is not going very well right now
Yeah.
when we're looking at all these players. But going into the big one, and that was what everyone was talking about, Nyheim Hines being traded to the Buffalo Bills in exchange for Zach Moss and a 6th-round pick. So before I say anything else, I do want to say thank you so much to Nyheim Hines for being a part of this team. Truly, truly sad to see you leave this way. It really is unfortunate that you felt that you needed to get out. And that's another thing, Cody, that, we talked about several weeks ago, that we felt like the Colts were losing the locker room. This is another example of that. Another voice in the locker room being gone for several reasons, which we'll get into. But again, Hines, thank you very much. You are a staple of the community. You are a great human being. You are a great football player. I truly, truly hope that you go and win a championship with Buffalo, preferably this year. What Buffalo's doing over there, they're going to absolutely love having Nyheim Hines playing for them. That's another fantastic weapon that Josh Allen, I know, is going to actually use.
Mhm.
So let's kind of break it down. We heard yesterday in the evening that the Colts were planning to shop Nyheim Hines. And then the news came out this morning that the talks were heating up and that most likely a deal was going to get done. And from what we're hearing now is that Nyheim Hines was the one that requested a trade out of Indy because, going all the way back to May, you had Frank Reich coming out to the media saying, if I was a fantasy owner, I'd pick Nyheim Hines, inclining that he was going to use him in a very useful way and get him involved quite a bit in the offensive game plan. And obviously, over the span of this year, he has touched the ball 43 times this year in 8 games. So just about 5 touches a game, and almost half of those coming in the run game too. So it's not like it's 10 carries and 35 catches. No, it's been 18 carries and 25 catches. So it's been 50-50. And, Hines has 36 yards on the year. Obviously, you know about it from the fact that the offensive line has been terrible all year. And then when the Colts lost to Tennessee in week 4, they had the game, and then he said that, this quarterback carousel that we're on, it's getting very frustrating and it's hard to get in a rhythm with these new quarterbacks that we keep having every year. Well, guess what? He's going to be on a team now that has their franchise quarterback for the next 10 years and probably is going to be where Nyheim Hines is going to finish out his career, catching passes from Josh Allen rather than Sam Ellinger. And you're right. It really is weird that, you trade away the one guy that scored your one touchdown in the last game, Cody. And I was just thinking of that. And I was just thinking to myself, how disturbing it is that, and look, Nyheim Hines was not our number one running back. I get that, but it feels like more of a bridge to it than anything because, again, this GM paid him $6.3 million a year to basically touch the ball 5 times a game, right? You're paying that guy that much money and he's not doing anything for you in an impactful way for the most part. And that's not even really his fault. It is the team not being able to block for him. And then on top of it, it's the coach for not getting him involved in the correct ways to get Nyheim Hines involved. And for him to feel like he had to request his way out tells you how little confidence he has in the coaching staff. And that should tell you right there and then about how this coach is coaching this team. Because it's not the first time that we've had this argument. We've had it multiple times. And then going to the trade itself, look, obviously Ballard got fleeced into it. He wanted to get rid of Hines just to get rid of Hines to make Hines happy. That's why they took the 6th. I'm not insanely mad about that one. You trade him and then bring in Zach Moss. For what reason? Zach Moss isn't going to be able to fill the job of what Nyheim Hines was capable of doing. We all know that. Zach Moss was the second running back or third running back in that Bills backfield already. We don't need that. And then it seems like would have been so much better if Ballard would have forced Reich to use Hines more. Again, another situation where Ballard should have went to Reich and said, okay, this is no longer a discussion. This is a promise. You will use Hines more in this game. I do not care if you have to force feed him. Get him the football. Find a way. You're the coach. Deal with it. I'm tired of having these guys come to my office and tell me that they're tired of you because of the fact that you don't get them involved in the offense. So it sucks. It sucks because Nyheim Hines didn't deserve what he was getting. 2020, he was widely renounced as one of the most pure specialist running backs in the NFL. And then in the last 2 years, he has just become an oblivion in this Colts offense ever since Nick Sirianni left. So, Cody, you can rehash whatever you want to say about it. I'll just say this sucks. This sucks losing him.
And I hope that this really stings for Frank Reich. He deserves to feel this because he has been the issue. It's been this whole offensive staff for the last couple of years. You're right. It seems, Derek, to me, like there is a major disconnect between the GM and the head coach. The GM wants one thing. The head coach does another thing. You know what I mean? The GM says, we want to be tough running the football. We want to be tough doing these things. We want to be a tough football team. And this team has been nothing like that this year. Completely the opposite, right? And then, you re-sign guys like Nyheim Hines. And the coach just doesn't use him, to his full potential. It's just like things like that make me think that this team is very disjointed right now from the top. They're very disjointed from the owner to the GM to the coach. It just seems like everybody has a different idea of how to run this team right now. And I don't know if any of them are necessarily correct, Derek. That's just kind of where we're at right now. And so The fact that that's happening, the fact that there's been other players who I know have been frustrated with not getting involved. I'm sure Paris Campbell's been frustrated because there's games where he goes and has 10 catches, and there's other games where he hasn't been involved this year, and other players as well. There's just like, what is happening? I'm sure that Mo Alley Cox is not happy. The fact that he's not even getting targeted out there anymore. I'm sure Jelani Woods isn't happy. I know he's only a rookie, but like every time he's been throwing the ball, he's been making plays, and we just don't get him the football. And it's just like, it's very clear to me, Derek, at this point, and you can disagree with me if you want. This locker room, I can smell the stink of this locker room from a mile away. It's not a question anymore, right? The culture has gone rotten with this team. It's very evident at this point. I mean, it's just bad, man. It's just getting ridiculous. And it seems like as the weeks go on, it's kind of starting to unravel at the seams a little bit more. Like you see cracks in the armor with this organization right now.
Yeah, it seems like this move really just, if you look deeper into it than what you actually would normally think, it definitely feels like that sort of situation where it feels like all the cries for help from some of the players from this year, and people just haven't quite seen it or noticed it. And I mean, it takes just this for you to know, people, that Nyheim Hines, who loved the city of Indianapolis, who took him in and made him a weapon his first 2 years in the NFL. And then the last 2 years, when the OC leaves, the head coach and the new OC can't find a way to get him involved in the offense, and he feels like he has to leave. I mean, it speaks to everyone in the locker room and the organization that clearly there is a disconnect going on between the players, the head coach, and the GM. And I hope that we can figure this out because, again, Hines, given what was being put in front of him and asked of him, was not changing the way this team was playing at all through the rest of the year. And who knows if it was ever going to change anything at all. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just happy for Hines that he's actually going to probably go to a place that plays winning football, has a good offensive minded coach, and actually has a way to get him involved in offensive game plans. I will be watching every Bills game that I can to watch Hines tear it up on Sundays. So that's going to do it for this one, guys, on my reaction and our split reaction here to the trade deadline moves and what happened today and what didn't happen. Let us know your guys' thoughts. And if you guys want to go see the initial reaction of Marcus Brady being fired and of their reaction to Hines on the live stream, I highly encourage you guys to go check those out as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts. What's going on, everybody? Today, I want to talk to you about our sponsor, BetStamp. Now, I know what you're thinking. Derek, another betting app? What is so different about this one now? Well, I got to tell you guys, I'm not into online gambling a whole lot and bets online and everything, but I got to tell you, BetStamp is one of the coolest things I have ever seen in regards to betting online. The great thing about BetStamp is it allows you to see all the different odds from all different sports books and see which one provides you the best odds possible for any game or scenario you want to bet on for your pick versus some of the worst. BetStamp allows you to also buy and sell picks that you have without worrying about losing your money or having any issues with it. Believe me, it's all free. I mean, look at this, guys. You have an option for every game across all different kinds of leagues in a ton of different ways. You have baseball, you have college football, UFC, NBA, and NFL. Great for the NFL season now being here. And if I wanted to bet on this Tennessee Titans versus Buffalo Bills game, it shows me in real time what are the best odds, which sports book I'm going to get the best offer from versus some of the worst ones. Because why would you want to earn less money from PointsBet when you could be winning more from ProLine Plus? Again, a great thing that BetStamp offers you, allowing you to make more money for the same pick just with a different sports book. How easy is that? And the great thing is there's not just games. There's player props. There's game props. There's lines. There's live tracking. There's a ton of great ways to make bets and picks on BetStamp, guys. Totally a cool thing to use. I highly encourage you check it out if you're into any kind of online betting. Even if you're not, give it a check. See what you like about it, because I think I actually enjoy using it. But the best way to get an edge on online sports betting is having multiple accounts at different sports books. Be sure to hit the BetLink page, betstamp.app/onboarding. Be sure to check out the BetStamp app or online, and be sure to use the referral code JUICE, plug in your state, and you'll get access to all their affiliates and their prices once you open it up, seeing all states' lines. Be sure to check this out, guys. You won't want to miss it for the best odds on your next sports bet.